Welcome back, team. Okay. Now we will see what is DR. In the same way, we need to understand provisioning the DB with the DR feature. Okay, you need to understand this one also. What exactly the provisioning the DB with the DR feature? Okay, you need to keep this one in your mind. Okay, how exactly we can achieve provisioning a database with the DR feature, and especially the discussion whatever we did, this is the provisioning the DB with HA, correct? With HA, that is what exactly we achieved here. But when it comes to the provisioning the DB with the DR, what exactly the DR means? Now I just need to understand from you, what is a DR, team? What is a DR? You just tell me what is a DR. DR refers to anyone? Disaster recovery. So what exactly that any component? Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, when the code is down.
Oh, sorry, Pandu.
That is as if you take with.
Actually, Pandu, I think I'm unable to hear you clearly, or sometimes I'm listening to you with a high voice and sometimes very low. Or maybe Amit, you can proceed. Yeah, tell me, Amit.
When the primary server will be down in any condition, then the disaster recovery we can move that, and the application can be run on that. It will support on that.
Okay. Yes, Naga. You are trying to.
During the deployment time, we can take a DR.
During the deployment time, we can take a DR. Okay. Yes, Naga. You are trying to say something. Asayed, I saw you both are unmuted.
Dinesh. So DR stands for disaster recovery.
Correct.
So this is used if any application, fraud application hosted on a production servers, and we are going to failover from one region to another region, from source to target region. So at time we'll do this activity. So mainly this is used activity once in a while in practical, real-time scenarios.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Right answer. Yeah. All are right. Okay. What are the answers you all given? I think those are absolutely fine. I think concept is same. Maybe those who don't have an idea on this particular DR, I'm just explaining again for the DR case. Okay. But remember one thing, this DR is really very, very important in your real-time case. Okay. Keep that point in your mind, team. Okay. So the point here is, when it comes to the provision the DB with the DR, so during the provision itself, for example, I'm just considering same image to just save some time. I'm just considering the same image. I'll modify this one, don't worry. Okay, I'm just considering the same image. Especially, I no need to worry on the regional level things and all. All regional level things you no need to consider. Just take this one, and this is the one database which you are connecting to in this particular region. For example, by any chance, is there any possibility, or if something happens specially for the Singapore region? So meaning that, so far you discussed about HA, you are simply played between two zones. For some instance, entire Singapore region is down. Some disaster happened for the entire Singapore region. Nothing works in Singapore. Completely each and every infrastructure, whatever the component, complete power failure, nothing will work. Then what should we do? Whatever the architecture, what is your architecture? Your architecture is application connecting to the database. You should be able to maintain the same architecture in another region. You need to maintain that one. Then only you can facilitate the end user still during that particular disaster time. But how we need to do that? Do we need to do that? Or Azure will do that? Or what options we need to enable? This is important. Okay, this is important as a cloud engineer. Now, once you are here, especially whenever you are provisioning the database team, what will happen here is Azure will clearly ask you where you want to store your backups. There is another terminology called backup. Backup. Azure will clearly ask you, hey, where you want to store your database backup. You want to store your database backup in the same region? I'm just considering these things as the backup or snapshots, whatever Azure is taking today. For example, I'm just keeping these things here. I'm just giving them with a different color so that we can easily understand. Or you want to keep your backup in some other region. This is important. If you are keeping your backup in the same region as this database, in case of region failure, these backups will not help you at all. Because in case of regional failure, you cannot access these backups. Obviously, you cannot access. Then what you can do, whenever you are provisioning the database, you need to enable geo-replicated backup. Okay? Replicated backup. This is the important scenario. Geo-replicated backup. If you enable this scenario, this particular option, what will happen is, whatever the database you are seeing in the Singapore region, those database backups will be taken in another region. This region I am calling as a paid region. Okay, understand the wording. Paid region. What is a paid region? Why I'm using this word? You can check. There's something called Azure paid regions. So what does it mean here, team? Azure clearly mentioning you one thing. In case of disaster recovery, where exactly we are trying to keep your applications, what would be your failover region? That is the thing exactly they clearly mentioned here. For example, if you consider your region is Singapore, your failover region is East Asia, which is a Hong Kong or something like that. So there are the paid regions, but you no need to worry whether my backup is sitting in the Hong Kong or not. How to verify? Is it really sitting in the Hong Kong? To be frank, you no need to worry. That is what the Azure cloud is offering you, because they will manage that one. That is why we will call these databases as managed databases. Azure managed. They are managing each and everything, infrastructure, backups, each and everything they will manage on their own. Now, when you see the geo-replicated backup team, so this particular database backup will be taken into the another region. Okay, that's absolutely all right. Now I'm asking a question. Okay, fine. In case of regional failure, how this thing is really helping you? This one you need to think now. Okay. In case of regional failure, team. Imran, you are trying to ask any question. Okay, I'll give you time. Just wait. If you are in case of regional failure, when this particularly the primary database, we'll call this database as primary, this one as secondary. But in case of HA, we'll call this one as a primary, this one as a standby replica. Remember the terminology, okay? In case of disaster recovery, so a disaster happened in the Southeast Asia, a database won't work. Then you need to fail over. You need to fail over all your traffic, whatever is coming to the primary, to the secondary. This is what the secondary region. You need to fail over. We'll call that particular process as failover. You need to understand what is failback also. Let's understand failover. Failover means primary to secondary. Failback means secondary to primary. That is failback. When you comes to the primary to secondary, that is a failover. When you pump all your transactions as usual, as part of our business, all the transactions are coming. And as part of the backup process, Azure is taking the backup of your database, and those backups will be stored as a snapshot, especially in the paid region. Okay, those backups are there in the East Asia. When something happens to the Southeast Asia, Southeast Asia region, automatically what we need to do, either you need to take care or Azure also will take care, because this is managed one. Especially when disaster happens, Azure support team will be there in the picture. But if you still think, no, I need to prove to my client as I covered the disaster recovery scenarios also. You need to prove to your client, right? You need to do some DR drill during your real time. You may need to prove to your client as, yes, our application definitely can tolerate the disasters. How? You need to prove for that one for the database also. Each and every component you need to prove. So when it comes to the picture, then you need to do a failover manually. Failover to prove to the client. Okay, failover. You need to do this one manually, team. Okay, you will do this particular thing, failover, from primary to the secondary. Primary to the secondary. So this is the one first you need to keep in your mind. So primary to the secondary. Okay, fine. Now you need to understand another thing. Okay. See, when you are maintaining geo-replicated backups, it is very easy for us to create a database from this backup. That particular process is called restore. What is restore? Restore is nothing but what are the backups we are taking. Because we are taking a backup. This is a backup. Okay, this is a backup. This is not a database directly. It's a backup. Now, this colors, just to understand, this color is a backup. Now, what we need to do, first and foremost thing, whenever disaster happen, so what we need to do, we have the backup especially in the paid region. You will go there to the paid region, right? There you will restore that particular backup into the actual database. This is the actual database. So you are restoring this particular process, you are restoring that particular backup into the actual database. This is the thing exactly I'm explaining here. Okay. Now your backup turned into the database. That is the point you need to keep in your mind. Okay. Your backup turned into the database. Now you can ask your application comfortably to connect to this particular database which is sitting in the Hong Kong region. Point to be remember, whenever you are restoring the database, it will ask you one question. What would be your connection string? That connection string definitely will be a different one. Remember that one, okay? Your connection string details this time are different. Your application needs to connect to this particular database. Okay? Application needs to connect to this particular database. Your connection string absolutely different because you are restoring. You are doing, even Azure doing also same. You are restoring from backup. When you are restoring from backup, it will ask you, please give the server name. Server name is nothing but address. It will ask you to provide the address. When you are providing the address, obviously your connection string is different. If you touch the address, your connection string is different. Then you will ask your application, please connect to this one. But to make your secondary to be ready with this one, it will take some time. That particular process, especially, we will call as RTO and RPO, recovery time objective. These point objective, recovery point objective, recovery time objective. We need to understand what is RTO and what is RPO. These concepts also we need to understand further. But for now, you need to keep in your mind, when the disaster happened to the Southeast Asia region, since we are taking the geo-replicated backups into another region, this is very easy for us to just restore a new database. And when you are restoring to a new database, obviously the connection string is different. Since the connection string is different, you need to configure the new connection string on the application. That is what exactly you can make this connection. To do all this process, it will take some time. those particular time, and the data loss, what about the data loss? You have some data loss also, right? Those things we will discuss in RTO and RPO concepts. Thank you for the session. See you in the next part.